All right, so my name is Bernard Kofi Elikplim Atiga. Most of you know me as EK Bernard, and I am actually the brain behind TechLift Mentorship Program. Now, the program is designed to help young professionals in IT. So, whether you're a student or you are doing your national service, you just completed national service, this is where you should be as an IT professional. Now, why did I decide to start mentorship program? Most of you know my background, and currently Bernard Kofi Matiga is a cloud architect and a junior AI engineer at one of the banks in Ghana, and I have half a decade or more experience in multimedia and also 2 years experience in tech. Why 2 years? You get to find out later. What I actually specialize in is cloud computing and machine learning. I am an AWS certified cloud architect. And so just know you are in the right hands, especially for the people who are interested in cloud computing. Now, why are we gathered here today? You've all heard me talking about cloud computing every time, but why are we here to do TechLift? Now, I'll share my screen with you for us to go through the reason why we are doing this TechLift mentorship program. And I'll take you through the foundation and orientation. So, if this is your first day here, you are welcome. Stay tuned and always feel free to leave a question in the comment section, and I'll be very glad to reply to you. All right, so let's proceed with what TechLift's mentorship is all about. Now, TechLift's mentorship is here to solve real problems. It's here to bridge the gap between theoretical education and practical education. So, I know most of you are currently facing problems, as in you don't know what to do. A lot of you have ventured into different scopes, that is networking, cloud computing, UI, UX, front end, but then you are quite not certain on what to do. So, one, the struggle. Why are we struggling? We are going to find time to delve into that more. Um, why beginners feel confused despite having information overload. And then we are also going to talk about the trends. Why students why students follow trends blindly without a destination, and the reality. So if you are following trends blindly, where are you going to end up? We are going to be discussing all of that and why theory alone doesn't build a career. So from the illustration, you can see the theory is just mixed up, but the reality, you have to go through some processes. You have to go through a learning curve. It's a steep learning curve that you have to go through, and you go from A to B to C. You don't go from A to D directly. Now, what we are doing here is to move from assumptions, move from consumption to a clear direction. So from here, you can see our mission. Our mission is to stop chasing trends. Our mission is to start building a tangible career path. Our vision is to transform confused beginners to focused specialists. And what we promise here at TechLift is clarity, structure, and industry reality. Now, I'm going to say what I'm going to share with you is not an assumption. It's not something I've dreamt or talked about. It's something I've lived. It's something I've lived. So let me take you through this. We have a roadmap, right, in TechLift. What we plan to do is this. we have to explore. We are going to explore, and then in the phase two, we are going to execute. So in the phase one, we are mostly going to meet industry experts. I have some software developers, cybersecurity personnel, networking engineers who are going to share their real stories with us. When I say real stories, they are sharing their real stories to guide us, to make us have informed decisions. So let me just share this with you. February 7th, which is today, we are doing our orientation. From now till March 21st, we are going to be doing research and industry panels. Industry panels where we have industry personnel come and guide us, talk to us, and expose us to the information out there. In this period, you are going to be doing a lot of research. So in this period, you are going to be doing a lot of research. You are going to explore about 10 different tech fields, from cybersecurity, UI UX design, project management, software development, web app development, cloud computing, applications. So there are lots of tech fields out there, DevOps, engineering, and we are going to make you explore all these fields. And at the end of the day, you are going to have a clear mindset where you want to be. So let me share the slides again, and then we proceed. So for the phase two, which is the execution stage, April 4th to May 16th, you are going to be presenting on some of these tech fields you've learned about. And then we'll move you to a stage where you select your top three, and then we create a clear roadmap. We are also going to be talking about Git and GitHub. I don't know if most of you know about GitHub, but GitHub is a version control platform. It's also used to store some of our codes, especially when we are developing or creating pipelines. Now, almost everyone in tech must be able to use Git and GitHub, because in this mentorship session, we are going to be using GitHub a lot. GitHub helps us to collaborate and also save our codes and do version control. So for most of the beginners here, there is version control. So let's say for WhatsApp, if I download WhatsApp today, they'll release an update tomorrow. And all these updates that they do, they keep track of these updates. So imagine there is a problem with one update and they want to go back to the previous one. That is where the version control comes in. So we are all going to be talking about that. We are also going to be talking about branding. That is how to use LinkedIn, how to put yourself out there. Now, we live in a world where you really have to put yourself out there. If you don't put yourself out there, you are going to be missing out on a lot of opportunities. Even though you might be an expert, you still have to put yourself out there. Post a lot about what you do on LinkedIn. Yes, because there are lots of experts, but because people do not see and hear of them, other people who just talk and make noise rather get these opportunities. And as students in TechLift, as mentees in TechLift, we are going to make sure that we harness the power of social media, we harness the power of LinkedIn. I'll proceed to the next slide where we talk about our phase one. So you can see orientation and tech landscape. So it's just an orientation talking about how these sessions are going to be like. February 21st, tech field exploration, research methods, and entry-level realities. March 7th will be software development panel. We'll have some guests come speak with us on the same platform. And then March 21st, we are going to have some infrastructure and data panel. It will be a guest show. So we'll have people come and talk to us. Now, why are we doing all of this? Okay, so let me be clear on one thing. Our mentorship session is twice every month. So we meet on the Saturdays. We meet twice in every month. So if you look at our phase one clearly here, you can see a 2 weeks interval. I understand most of us are students, most of us are workers, so we give ample time for each and every one to be able to relax and do the work. Now, in this phase, in this exploration and exposure phase, I will advise you, do not use AI or do not use large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude in this session, because if you do that, you are missing out on a lot. The real learning starts when you search, when you are curious, you have a mind, you have an idea, and you Google. Now, when you Google, you get a whole lot of articles on just one thing that you Googled. It means that you are going to be having different views from different angles. Now, when you use ChatGPT, this is what it does. It limits you to only one view, where it projects that view as the best option. We don't want that. We want you to have a general idea of any task we are giving you for you to be able to proceed. Now, I mentioned that we are taking you from a beginner level to a specialist level. For you to be a specialist, you must have enough information. You shouldn't have limited information. So just keep that in mind. I'll proceed to the phase two. The phase two begins actually on 4th April, where you are going to be presenting. You are going to be presenting. I wouldn't be presenting to you. You will present, and then we will help you along the line find some of your strongholds. April 18th, we are going to be doing field selection. So, from the research you did, what have you noticed that you like best? And we want you to rank them as in your best three, and then we create a particular roadmap. So this is what we do. We'll choose one primary tech field and you choose one secondary path. So while you do this, we are going to guide you, create a clear, steady plan. You know, while you are selecting your tech fields, note that if you take software development, for instance, software development alone has different kind of paths under it. So under software development, you can have project management. After under software development, you can have back end development, front end development. Under software development alone, we can have DevOps engineering also there. So when you take software development, we are going to help you understand what software development is. After we are done with that, we are now going to help you decide, okay, under software development, what and what fields do we have there? And what should I be focusing on? What are my strengths? So these are some of the things we'll be talking about. And let's proceed again. On May 12th or on May 2nd, we'll be talking about Git and GitHub fundamentals. So most of you who are already in level 200, 300, and 400, I know you've learned about Git and GitHub, but most of you do not really know how to use it the right way. So here we also have an expert talk to us about GitHub and also help us with some hands-on practicals. On May 16th, we are all going to be working on personal branding and presentation skills. So you'll be taking through how to create presentation slides with Canva, how to create presentation slides with PowerPoint, and how to create basic graphics. So as a tech person, you don't really need to know much about media, but it's an advantage because in most of your projects that you are going to be doing, if you know about layouts and UI UX, it's going to really help you know how to place things for them to look much more presentable. Now, the 5 pillars of our landscape, right? We have in the tech landscape, these are mostly our 5 pillars: software development, cybersecurity for protection, networking for connectivity, databases and data for mostly analytics, cloud and infrastructure. So these are mostly what tech revolves around. When I say this is what tech revolves around, if you take your phone, you are connected by networking. You are using an application like Snapchat or WhatsApp, which is based on cloud, where your money is saved. Your mobile money, when you make a transaction, it is stored somewhere. It is stored in a database. And for hackers not to get your information, cybersecurity handles that. So these are the 5 pillars of the tech landscape, and we'll be taking you through all these. So at this point, if you have any question, just type it in the comment section and I'll give you an answer. So I'll proceed again. The power of specialization. Now, in TechLift, this is what we are mainly focused on. We want you to specialize. We don't want you to know about the thing. We don't want you to just have information about it. So when it comes to web design, we don't want you to tell us, okay, there is front end and back end, and there is HTML and JavaScript, or there is React. We want you to be able to see, okay, in front end and web design or web development, I am a front end developer and I use React Native, or I use React to create most of my websites. We want you to get to that point where you know what you are doing, not just information about what you want to do. So that is where we talk about our specialization and the generalist. So most of us are in this category, are in the generalist category. So you can, all I'm saying is you cannot master 5 pillars. You cannot master everything. When you go here, when you go back, you can see you can't master all these 5 pillars. You can't master everything here. However, we are going to help you when you choose a lane, just 1 or 2 lanes, and then you master in those ones. So this is how we explore in TechLift. This is all we are going to be doing. We are going to make sure you find a role, and then number 2, the skills. You build the required skills. You build the up-to-date skills. You know, there are some skills that you don't need to have at this moment. We are in the AI era. Some of these things, AI can do them. So we'll distinguish between what you should be learning, what you should focus on more, and what you should really not pay attention to. So here we are going to also talk about the tools you should use. So first we'll focus on the roles, and then we'll narrow down to skills, and from skills we narrow down to tools. Now here is something I want you to take notice of. You shouldn't compare yourself as a day one to someone who has been in the system for 10 or 5 years. There is a clear difference. Even for someone like me who has 2 to 3 years experience, I can't compare myself to someone who has 5 years experience, because what the person has in his head, that is the knowledge, the experience, I can't compare mine to theirs. Now, also take note that experience is not equal to number of years. So someone can be doing something for 20 years, but someone with 5 years experience actually can do better than the person who has a 20 years experience. And it's all about the way you do your things, the way you learn, and the way you build your projects. So in TechLift, we are going to be talking about most of these things We are going to be using WhatsApp mostly for our communication, and we'll be using our we'll be using Google Drives, Google Docs, Google Sheets to submit most of our tasks. I don't call it assignment. Assignments, you use ChatGPT. For a task, you have to sit down and do it yourself. You have to go through everything you want to do. And kindly take note, I'm saying you shouldn't use ChatGPT for whatever you are doing here, because if you use ChatGPT, you are not helping yourself, and there is no reason why you should be here, because you wouldn't be learning. So at this moment, I'll pause and answer a question. Sir, please, what should someone without a laptop do? I think if you're in level 100 without a laptop, it is manageable. For an IT or computer science student, you can manage in level 100 without a laptop, but you are going to struggle. However, it doesn't mean you can't do it. When I was in Legon, level 100 first semester, I didn't have a laptop. However, I was depending on my colleagues in the humanities. So someone doing political science, someone doing political science, for example. They mostly do not use their PCs. So what I do is I study the person. When the person is less busy, I go and ask them for their laptop. And you must make sure that you give the person ample time, so you don't go and pressure the person. You do one or two, and then you return the laptop to the person. Also, for most of the schools, there are ICT labs, there are libraries with computers. So for Legon, if you go to UGCS, there are laptops, there are PCs you can use. Once you have your student ID or your provisional ID, you can go there, use the PC, and then you leave. So that's my advice for most of you who don't have laptops. And let's proceed. So in TechLift, we prioritize respect and participation. So we know that we are all old enough, we are adults. We don't want you to be communicating anyhow. You want you to communicate professionally. Note that as a student, anything you do in school has an effect on your first and second year in the real industry. So if you are going to class late, if you are attending meetings late, it is going to translate in your professional years. So your early professional years, you realize that when you start national service, you will be going to work late. If you don't submit assignments on time, when you are given a task at work, there is a high chance that you'll be submitting them late. So also take note, respect inquiry. Now, as much as we want you to ask questions, we don't want you to ask any question. We want you to ask thoughtful questions. So someone says, if you can ask Google, why do you ask me? But in TechLift, we don't encourage that. We encourage you to ask questions. So if you have any question, first find out, okay, have I asked someone closer to me, or have I thought of it? Have I Googled enough? If you Google and you don't understand, you can now come and ask someone in the group. And participation. So we encourage you to participate. It's a process. It's a step-by-step process. If you don't follow our processes, you might miss out on a lot and might not get the end result you need. So there is a question, a level 400 student, and I want to know if it's advisable to use some of my already existing projects as my final year project or start a whole new project. Okay. So let me answer this question, right? You first need to know if that your existing project is worth a final year project. Now, your final year project should be a holistic project. When I mean holistic, if you are building a system, it should be front end, back end, and a database. I hope you get it. It should have login page. It should be authentication. There should be authentication. If your previous project doesn't meet this standard, then you have to rethink about what you are doing. And also, you have to know, is your that previous project you are talking about, does it solve a particular problem? If it is solving a particular problem, what problem is it solving? Is there any existing system that is doing this already? Then you ask yourself, how can I improve on this project or the existing project? Now, I have a video I'll be posting on my YouTube channel, and it's mostly about final year projects. The thing is, let me just be short, so 1 minute. The thing is, your final year project should help you. It should be a stepping stone for you into the industry. So if you tell me that you've done this final year project, I know that you have ABC set of skills. You get it? So it's mostly advisable that you do a project that will challenge you and help you get, and even some of the final year projects are able to get you jobs right after school. So you just contact me. I'm sure you're on my page. Just contact me back door. We'll have more conversation on this. So I'll proceed. There was a question, but it has been deleted. So let me just proceed. So assignment 001, the top 5 tech fields. Now, for this assignment, I'll share it with you on the platform after this session. So what we are doing is, our objective is to gain clarity by researching on the 5 pillars. I don't know, let me just go back. So here are the pillars. Research on these pillars when it comes to software development, cybersecurity, networking, data and database, cloud and infrastructure. We want you to research on it and share your response to us. The instructions will be given to you on the platform. So if you are not on the platform, check one of the videos, the recent videos I made, the description. We have the link in there. And then the output is for you to identify real world rules and entry level expectations. So this brings me to the end of this presentation. And if you have any question, just drop it. At this point, you're only taking questions, and then we'll proceed. All right, so as a level 100 student, I heard not all the fields in tech require you to be an expert in programming, or let me say, it's not all about coding. I was giving an example like networking. All right. Okay, so you see, first of all, you don't need to be afraid of programming. You don't need to be afraid of programming. For people who ask questions like this, I know it's mostly about the programming bit. Now, that is true. When it comes to UI UX design, you entirely don't need to know how to code. When you come to project management in IT, you don't need to know how to code. Something like, there are some of the rules which do not require coding. Networking requires a bit of coding, but not much. Now, you see, the problem is AI has been introduced in the system. When you take UI UX like this, UI UX designers are going into extinction because there are platforms which can design systems for you. Like, they'll do a very good design job that a UI UX person can do. So if I work in a company and someone brings this product or this software, then it means that that software or AI has taken over my job. So what do you do as a UI UX designer? You learn how to code. That after building or designing your project, you move on to the stage where you can build the project. You get it? And even AI platforms are there doing front end and even building applications. However, if you are an expert at what you do, if you are a very good expert, like in software development, you use AI to work faster and smarter. You get more jobs other than the person who doesn't use AI. So, yes, there are fields in programming, there are fields in IT which do not require programming, but I'll advise you, the people who are taking the cash, the people who are doing the big stuff, are the ones who know the coding. Which doesn't mean that if you don't know coding, you can't excel. There is also a path for you. So for some of these questions, I'll reply later. If there are any questions, just drop them and then we'll proceed. I think for now, we are done with our session. We are done with our session now. So if there are no questions, then I would like to end the session, the live session here. And then our assignment drops. Our assignment will be dropped on the page. You have 2 weeks to complete the assignment. Every instruction will be given to you in the document. So kindly take notes. So I'll wait for 5 minutes. If there are no questions, okay, some of us are just new to the tech world. With all the courses we are doing, how can we balance it with our own personal studies? All right, so let me be clear, right? As a student, you have a lot of time. Let's break this down. Let's break the day into 8 hours. So 8 hours sleep, 8 hours for school activities, and you have extra 8 hours. So you go to school from 8 to 5, right? And then you sleep for 8 hours. That is 16 hours, which means you have extra 8 hours in a day. If you study just 3 hours every single day, I bet you are going to be one of the top students in your school. Just 2 or 3 hours every day, you are going to be one of the top students. But I know there are some days that you go to church, some days you don't feel well, some days you like to go for parties and stuff. Just know how to manage your time. As I've said, just structure your day into 8 hours. First 8 hours for sleep, second 8 hours for school, and the rest of the 8 hours left, just use 4 hours out of that for something productive, and then you see how best and how far you go. So if there are no more questions, we'll be ending the session at 7:50. Be ending this session at 7:50. Thank you all for joining. Our next session will be on the 21st, 21st of February. Okay, so I have, all right, I have a video on, let me just share my screen. Let me just share my screen. I have a video on what you should do as a level 100 or someone who is new to IT, right? There are some things you shouldn't worry about. As a level 100 student, you shouldn't bother about learning how to code at this moment. You have to understand the basics, and the basics are not or doesn't include coding. you need to know why you are coding. You need to know why you are writing a particular line of code. So that is why this platform is, we've created this platform for you guys. So we want to take you from zero to hero. And also, in this, let me just share my screen and show you. I made a video. I think on YouTube. Yeah, I have this video here. It's for level 100 students. So if you are in level 100 and you've not watched this, it's just a step-by-step guide on what you should do in level 100. So mistakes, level 100 tech survival guide. So in that video, I spoke about what you should do even before you start to learn coding. And that level 100 is a foundational layer of your life. You have 4 years to spend in school. If you use 1 year to study about the basics, the introductions, and note that almost all the courses you are doing in school this semester as level 100 are introduction to something, introduction to computer science, introduction to databases, introduction to this. They are just introducing it to you so that you can spend more time yourself learning about the basics. For the level 200, 300, and 400, it is not too late. I keep telling you guys, it's not too late. Just take your time, go back to the basics, like what you are doing here, and then you achieve something great. I always tell people that how far where I am at the moment is not because I was perfect in level 100 through to level 400. Actually, I became serious in level 400 when I started my final year project, and from there, that seriousness has stuck with me and has brought me this far, as in after my national service, getting a job. It's that seriousness I picked up in level 400 because I realized I was completing school without any skills as a computer science student, and I had to be serious then. So whether you are in level 400, 200, or 100, or you are not even in school, it is your seriousness that will get you places. It is not about the coding. It's not about all those fancy stuff. So let's just brace ourselves for what we have for you here. And thank you all for joining. At this point, I'll be ending the live session. There is a question. Can you comment? Okay, I think I've answered that question already. So at this point, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.